Engineering. We're going to start right in with Jake.
The problem is that Naya is missing fingering chart, and to determine which notes we're going to need to use, we need to develop a thing for it so that she can play them, and that's how we based our design on it.
I'm Leroy. So when we were thinking of our mechanism and our design principles, we really wanted to make sure that we made something that was really quick and easy for Naya to assemble and use. We also wanted something that's not going to fail or break or anything like that, so she'll have it as long as she's playing the recorder. We also wanted something that was nice and easily cleaned. Recorders can get gross, so you're breathing in and out of them. We wanted to make sure it was nice and easy clean. And also, we wanted something that we could possibly manipulate later to bring to market for other people with similar disabilities and things of that nature. And now Ryan.
So while we were testing our product, we were looking at different solutions for hole covers. And here we used Spectrum View, which is a program to calibrate the frequency of different notes. And right here we're looking at a C6 note, 1047 hertz. And we're using different materials. This here is cork, and peak frequency was 1033. We've been experimenting with vinyl, cork, and foam, but recently we've been moving towards 3D printable NinjaFlex. It's a thermoplastic, and AJ will talk a little bit more about some 3D printed materials.
So as Ryan mentioned, we're experimenting with NinjaFlex, which is essentially a flexible filament that is fully printable. The idea behind this is that we can, with very little expense, create any number of gaskets, pads, so on and so forth, that are both repeatable and very inexpensive. Compared to the cost of even just going out and just getting a pad of cork, which can be several dollars, these can be produced for pennies on the dollar, and are of course highly replaceable. In addition to the NinjaFlex, we're working on surface finishes and strength of the material of an ABS. Because the material is printed, we're finding that there's a specific grain structure, very similar to wood, in that if the strength of the material is perpendicular to the filament's strand, you run it parallel, and the strands separate very easily, creating a very weak structure. You run it perpendicular, and you can create a very strong material. You can also combine this with multiple means of infill. Instead of just having a cross feed, very similar to a weave that you would see on any cloth at 90 degrees, we can set it to multiple different degree counts to hopefully increase strength in all directions. Finally, we're working on surface finishes of materials. We found that a 100 micron build creates a stronger build and a slightly better initial surface finish. But going forward, we need to figure out a way to turn that fairly rough surface finish into a totally smooth item, very similar to the extruded plastics of the recorders that we're currently using, which are ABS by their nature. So you can get this stuff really, really smooth. This would reduce any potential sensitivity issues that Naya has declared at the beginning of the semester. I'm going to send it onward to, I forgot. Pat.
One of the solutions that we've been looking at, on the top there, it's a Pringle solution is what we're calling it. And it's basically just a one-piece solution that has their representatives, little cylinders or spheres on there. But that would be whatever we're going to use to close the notes, and she'd have all the notes. We could strap it to her wiggle, and she could just play them. But all the forces are pointing down, so the next idea I had was to have this piston idea and play it with a Pringle. And I added those hooks on there so she could have some pull up and play the note down. She could kind of have like a twist to play the note, have more control that way is the idea. And I'm going to hand it off to Ian.
Alright, like you said, we were looking at two solutions right now. We're calling this one the sheath. It's kind of based off of two design principles. One, just make it as mechanically simple as possible. We're not trying to make anything that's heavy on the learning curve for her. She's already going to be trying to learn music on top of this. And maybe even our design can teach her something musical, so if that can be incorporated into the design, it would be really cool. The way the sheath works is there was the cylinder up in the top right of the last slide. It slides over the recorder, and using her wiggle, she can rotate it around so that the different notes cover the different holes on the recorder that she's unable to play. Later iterations, we're hoping will provide some sort of tactile feedback or maybe even visual feedback so that she knows, the holes are completely covered or she's in the right position for that note. Recently, we've come to the conclusion that maybe we want to look at a 4-hole design, as that seems to be the trend now. So hopefully we can scale it. It's kind of hard to see a no, but you basically have from left to right, no holes covered, single hole, 2, 3. In later iterations, we've been able to cover a few more. This one's just a single ABS plastic print, but like AJ said, we're working on printing NinjaFlex as well, and NinjaFlex would be the actual material covering the holes. This solution right here, this iteration was, the initial print. It worked okay, but the plastic itself doesn't create the best seal over the holes, so we're really hoping the NinjaFlex or some other type of pad material can provide that. I'm going to pass it on to Matt, who's going to talk about the harness.
This kind of shows how we wanted to make a brace for this, and this is also the Pringle design on there. So that's just slides right on, goes with the ease of use that we talked about earlier. And essentially what it is just 2 yokes that will go on a bracket that we have like from a harmonica brace. I mean, if you've ever seen one of those, it kind of just hangs like around their neck. Just metal wires that have like a silicone around it, and it just holds the harmonic there so someone can play another instrument like a guitar and then also play the harmonica. We saw that, and when we first started off looking at other patents and other things that are used in instrument design, we're like, well, that was like a really good idea, because all of our solutions kind of utilize her wiggle over top the recorder, meaning like going over top the holes, kind of like where a normal hand would. So we needed support on the bottom. So this is essentially turning the recorder into a two simple support beams. So like her mouth is controlling the top part by the mouthpiece, and this will have wires that come down a little bit longer, braced kind of like right around here, and it comes down. And then these yokes, as it shows there, it will just hold it. So this way it can go up and down. And then if, say, our design changes and we want to be able to use her wiggle on the bottom, as in turn this over or whatever you want to do, all I'd have to do is just put like a clamp on top there so that this doesn't come up and down. But either way, it would end up working pretty nicely just by modifying what's already existing, much like you did with the materials, looking at cork from other instruments. And that's what we looked at before for the closing of the notes. And now we've moved on to NinjaFlex just because that it's probably more something that we can manufacture a little bit easier. So using what's already there, modifying it to what will work for her. Hopefully, this is a little time-lapse video that we made of that. Just had a GoPro in the MTL, so this is actually right around 2-hour print, about an hour and 40 minutes, but shrink down into 17 seconds. So. I'm on the side there a lot because when we first did that, it failed a couple times. Just it was sliding around, so I was kind of actually watching that one more than I probably should. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Are there any questions? Yeah.
For the Baroque fingering, the F holes, the F note's a little bit different. How do you play that with your design right now?
Which design?
Either one of them. I guess more on like the sheet twisting one is my question.
Alright, I'm not super familiar with the notes by name.
It's
It's one of the hurdles for this
it's
project.
like the awkward one where it's like the second hole on the bottom
Yeah.
is uncovered, but the rest are covered.
Alright, so that solution that we showed, the one that was on the board, that one only was, I guess, 5 different configurations playable, but the recent solutions have allowed for different notes. So basically the sheet itself just looks a lot more complex now. so there is the ability to play notes in between like that. I think there's, if you go to the fingering chart in the beginning of the slide, I think I know what you're talking about. There's like, the F would be this one. So you have just your middle, those would be normally your right hand and middle hole covered. So the solution that I showed played mostly those four, and you could actually play both the half notes too. So out of the 9 iterations, that first one played 6 of the 9, and we're working on making all of the possible notes in the scale that a normal person could play possible for 9.
We were also hoping to put some kind of feedback on there, so as she twists, it will kind of let her know where she's at, and it'll help with her learning as well.
Think of like the clicking on the Wheel of Fortune wheel or whatever. What do I call it? Call it. Very good.